used to love comics when I was a kid. All of them were great, but the best to me were the ones that were larger than life. Super strong, super tough, able to shoot lasers out of their hands or eyes, and most of all, able to fly. Because that seems the most super, doesn't it? Being stronger or faster than everyone else, or able to take a hard punch, that's cool and all, but you're just higher on a continuum that every other person is on somewhere. Lasers and shit? Normal people can't do that, of course. But it's also not that practical or useful, unless you're fighting giant monsters or supervillains. And we don't have those. So what would you use it for most of the time? But flying? No one can do that. And it'd be super fun and useful. Maybe even able to heal someone too. So you can fly in, save someone, and then actually fix them instead of flying to a hospital or something and hoping they don't die on the way. Or get hurt worse with you flying so fast to get them to a doctor. Stupid kid shit, sure. But you can't say I didn't think it out. You need to understand that comics were an escape for me. They always had been. But by the time I was 15, well, I wanted to live in those pages rather than out in the world. Aside from the normal, awkward teenage angst, I was also dealing with a father dying of cancer, and a mother who was drinking so hard she seemed determined to beat him to the grave. I tried to help, but when I saw there wasn't really anything I could do, I just retreated into my head instead. I filled it with comics and other stories to distract me from the things going on around me. That's probably why it took me a minute to register the cries coming out from underneath the bridge. It was an old wooden bridge stretching over a small river on the north side of town, and connecting two ends of a small road that had been deemed barely worth paving every decade or two. I only went that way because it was a quick and quiet way to get to school without having to ride the bus. And the most excitement I'd ever had on it was the time I saw a water moccasin hustling across before I got too close. When I heard the cry, that snake was somehow the first thing I thought of as I came out of my plodding stupor. No, not a snake, stupid. It was a woman, calling out for help somewhere nearby. Not on the road or in the nearby brush, but underneath my feet. Heart beating faster, I went to the end of the bridge and cut back down the slope that ran under. I was only a few feet down when I could see a middle-aged woman, wet and bleeding from several cuts on her face and arms, standing on a small outcropping of rocks in the middle of the narrow, lazy river. Her face lit up when she saw me, and she reached out her hands, but only a little, as though she was afraid of falling from her precarious perch. "Oh, thank be! Have you come to help me? Please say that you have." I nodded. Yeah, sure. Are you hurt?" She sniffled pitifully. "A little banged up when they tried to take me, but I'll be alright once I'm back home." I frowned. "Take you? Like, someone tried to kidnap you or something?" The woman nodded. "They did. I managed to get the best of them and pitched myself over the bridge, but all I could manage is getting onto this rock." She looked at the water fearfully and then back to me. "I can't swim, and I need help getting to the bank." I wanted to say that she could pretty much just walk out, but I held my tongue. She was clearly banged up, and maybe in shock, too. Why did it matter if she could do it herself, if I was there and able to help her? Smiling at her, I started making my way down to the water's edge. "No need to worry. I'll be glad to help you get across." She beamed at this. "Oh, thank you so much. It really means the world to me." I sucked in a breath as the cold water swirled around my ankles, and with each step I went in deeper, but I was still only at my waist by the time I reached the edge of her perch. Giving her an awkward grin, I offered her my hand. "It's really not bad. The river is really slow here. But don't worry, just hold my hand and I'll..." "I can't." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She shook her head as she looked past me to the water. I know this sounds silly, but can I just, get on your back? I can't get into the water. I just can't. I felt confused and irritated, and I wanted to argue, but I was trying to do a good thing, and the sooner it was over, the sooner I could get home and get dry. Looking at her, she didn't weigh much, and if push came to shove, I could drag her to shore, whether she liked it or not. Trying not to let my emotions show, I nodded to her. Yeah, okay. I turned around. Climb on. She was even lighter than she looked. It only took her a moment to settle onto my back, and then I started back across without another word. It wasn't hard, but it was more awkward, and I took my time picking my way across the slick river rocks on that return trip. There were a couple of times where I wobbled and felt her nails dig into my shoulders, but otherwise we made it across without incident. When we reached land, I squatted down and she climbed off gingerly. Now that it was done, I felt awkward and even colder, but I felt like I needed to ask if she needed to go to the doctor or something before I just bailed. I was about to do just that when she reached out and touched my chest lightly. Thank you for saving me. I felt my chest flutter nervously. She wasn't pretty and seemed fairly old, at least 15 years older than me, but she was a girl touching my chest. It's nothing. You okay? She nodded, meeting my eyes earnestly. I am now, thanks to you. I'd like to repay you for your kindness. I could hear blood in my ears. Was this some kind of proposition? No, surely not. Probably wanted to give me some money or something. I should just say no thanks. If she pushed it, take the money and... What do you wish for? I stared at her, confused. Wish? I mean, I don't need anything for just doing the right thing. Her thick eyebrows knitted into a frown. No, you misunderstand. I'm granting you a wish. A real one. Tell me what you wish for, and you will receive it. Okay, so this was some kind of weird proposition thing. I was young and perpetually desperate, but I still wasn't looking to get it on with some weird old lady under a bridge. Mind racing, I decided to just act like I took it literally, and said the first thing that came into my head. Okay? Well, I'd like to be able to fly then. My father's face flashed in my mind, and I felt an irrational stab of guilt, as though I was somehow depriving him of some real opportunity. To be able to fly and heal people. I looked out at the river as I talked, but now I look back down at her. If that's okay. She gave a little laugh. That's fine. An excellent wish. It is granted. My chest suddenly felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. Panicking, I took a step back and turned around, as though looking for some cause or help. It didn't seem strange until later that I hadn't tried to have the woman help me. Not that it would have mattered. The feeling disappeared as soon as it had come, and when I turned back to where the woman had been, she was gone. I walked back the way I'd come. No way I could go to school soaked like I was, and I suddenly felt wrung out and tired. I expected to see my father in the living room when I got there, but he was gone. I'd forgotten that Mom had to take him to a doctor's appointment that morning, and looking at the oven clock, I was amazed to see it was already after 10. Had I really spent that long down at the river? Shaking my head, I stumbled to my bedroom and stripped off my wet clothes before crawling into bed. I was only planning on sleeping for a few minutes, but when I woke up, my alarm clock said it was 3:30 in the afternoon. I could hear the TV coming from the living room now, too. Getting up, I was surprised with how spry and light I felt. Everything felt easier. When I left the bedroom, my father looked around and gave me a wave. "Hey man, I finally woke up. Did you come home early from school today?" I let out a slow breath. I never made it. I was crossing the old bridge the way I usually go, and there was some lady underneath that needed help. She said someone tried to kidnap her or something, and she got free and was stuck out in the middle of the water. He let out a chuckle as he raised his eyebrows at me. "You bullshitting me?" I shook my head. "No, for real. She was weird about crossing the water, so I helped her get across." Studying me for a moment, he seemed to decide I wasn't joking after all. "Did you call the cops about it?" I didn't have a chance. Once we were back on the bank, she must have run off or something, because I turned around and she was gone. My father was frowning a little now, his now thin face making every expression look more severe. "Well, I'm glad you're okay. You have to be careful of things like that." I stared at him, confused. "Things like what? I just helped a lady." He waved his hand at me. I know. And I'm proud of you for helping. But it is a strange thing, isn't it? Her story is odd. She sounds odd, too. It could have been a setup to rob you or something. I don't know. Something else nasty. Just saying. It's a strange world, and you have to be careful." My father sighed as he looked at me. "Not trying to be a downer. I am proud of you." He opened his arms to hug me, and I stepped over to embrace him. He'd never been much of a hugger, but that had changed in the last few months, too. "Yeah, it was weird. My jaw clamped shut as I embraced him, my mind flooded with new sensations and ideas. I could feel him. Not just feel that I was hugging him. I could feel what he was feeling. Feel how he was. Feel the cancer that was spreading throughout his organs, little by little. Jesus. My father pulled back and looked at me questioningly. "What's the matter?" More out of instinct than anything else, I pulled him close again. "Nothing, Dad. It's nothing." As I held him, I felt a warmth flare up inside me and pass into him. It only took a couple of seconds, and then I pulled away. I wasn't sure what it had done for him, but I felt heavier and more tired now, as though I'd lost something in the process, whatever that process was. He still looked a little concerned, but decided to change the subject as he pointed toward the other end of the house. "Your mother, those doctor trips take a lot out of her. She's laying down now. Do you mind fixing us some dinner in a bit? I don't think I have it in me today." I nodded. "Yeah, sure, Dad. I'll fix it." The next morning, I woke up to my father humming in the kitchen as he made us breakfast. When I gave him a questioning look, he grinned and said he was feeling better today than he had in a good while. I could see it, too. He looked a little less tired and brittle, and his movements were a bit less stiff. I already felt like I knew what it was, but I didn't want to get my hopes up. The day before had been weird, and it might all have been my imagination. All that being said, it hadn't seemed like it was in my head at the time, and the odd ways I had felt since saving that woman and making my wish hadn't left either. I'd felt strangely light before hugging my father, and then tired and heavy after. That had slowly faded throughout the evening, and this morning I was feeling lighter and more energetic again, even more than I had the day before. Still, I didn't need to rush to any conclusions. Instead, I'd just watch him and see how he was for now. So we sat together, eating breakfast and talking like we often did. But there was a different flavor to it now, It wasn't just that he had more energy. He was laughing and talking more the way he used to, like he had before he had lost all hope. Still, I tried not to get my own hope up too much, hard as that was. And I was also distracted by how I was feeling. I still felt good, but everything felt slightly unreal, as though I was a cloud floating along above a world I couldn't quite reach. I was still trying to figure out what was wrong with me when I realized Dad was talking to me again. Huh? He laughed. I asked if he wanted to go for a walk. I don't plan on overdoing it, but I actually feel like getting out for a bit, and I want to take advantage. Heart pounding, I grinned and nodded. Yeah, that sounds awesome. There was a 3-mile trail behind the house, running its way through the woods before finally petering out into a large opening that had probably once been a cattle field decades earlier. My father used to jog it every week, but now, most days he was doing good to make it out to check the mail. But, then again, most days wasn't that day, and with every step that he didn't seem tired or winded, I felt myself growing more excited that, somehow, I really had healed him the day before. I asked him a couple times if he wanted to stop, but he always said he was good to go further. And, unlike most things lately, I could tell it wasn't just him putting on a brave face. We were probably 2 miles down the trail and in the heart of the woods when he had the coughing fit. His face turned red, and he gripped his knees as his whole body shook with spasms of coughing. And, out of reflex, I reached out to pat him on the back and asked if he was okay. As soon as I touched him, I knew the answer. The cancer was still there. Maybe slightly smaller or asleep for the moment, but still reaching out with a dozen poison arms. Fuck. I thought I had... Simultaneously, several things happened. The first is that I felt despair and anger that had become so familiar lately flaring up inside me again. Though now it was worse because it had become married to some sense that I had failed my father. The second was that warmth growing again in my center. A small flame telling me that I could do it again, that I could do more, and that I could fix this. The third, it was a gust of wind. When the wind hit us, my coughing father didn't even notice. His eyes were watering and shut as he braced against the latest round. For me, however, everything changed forever. I felt my feet leave the ground like the tail of a kite, my whole body floating up at the wind's urging. I had a moment of delight before it was replaced with terror. I wasn't just flying. I was being pushed backward by the breeze. Instinct taking over, I reached out and touched my father again, gripping the back of his shirt this time, using it to pull myself to him and wrap my arms around him. It all felt so natural as it happened. As soon as my arms and chest were tight against him, I felt that heat in me flare up and flow out into him. If the day before had been a candle, this was a bonfire, rushing between us in a torrent, burning out the sickness in him. I could feel the cancer recoiling, curling in on itself, disappearing as if it had never been at all. But that wasn't all I felt. My feet returned to the ground, and I felt heavy and tired again. Less a balloon now, and more a lump of sour clay. My father? He kept getting lighter and lighter. I tell myself I didn't understand that at the time. That it was only in retrospect that I realized what was really happening. But I think maybe that's a lie. It's not just power the wish gave me. Flying or healing, whatever mockery of what I thought I was asking for that the witch gave me. It's an instinct, a core understanding of muscle memory that I didn't have before. Even that I could excuse. Hell, I have excused at times over the years since, as an element of whatever I've been cursed with. It's not my choice. It's just part of the magic, right? Except for what happened next. My father turned and looked at me, his eyes wide. I was holding onto his face at this point, his happy tears pooling against my thumbs and running down my wrists. He knew. Somehow, he fucking knew what I'd done. Son? Did you just take it away? I was starting to cry a little now, too. Yeah, Daddy. I think so. His face crumpled a little, and he gave a nod in my hands. I thought so. But how? Swallowing, I gave a shrug. That woman, she gave me a wish. He let out a wet laugh. And you wished to heal me? I looked up at the sky. Kind of. Well, I don't understand how, but what's happening? The soft, tentative joy in my father's voice had been replaced by confusion and fear, and I felt my hands tighten on his face, even as I saw his feet and legs start to drift up behind him. Oh God, please no, don't do this to him. I didn't mean it. I said the words, and I meant them, but that didn't mean I believed them entirely, even then. Some of it was truly a prayer, but most of it was for my father. I didn't want him to be afraid, but I also didn't want him blaming or hating me, especially when something inside of me said what had to happen next for it to last. I started crying harder. I really did love him. So much. What's happening to me? I'm floating? Don't let go. Please, get me down. But I loved myself more. I let go of his face, twisting free of his frantic attempt to grab me again. It all happened fast. Within a moment, he was out of reach, sailing higher and higher, to the treetops and beyond. Within less than a minute, I couldn't hear him screaming anymore. My mother was still passed out when I got home. I told them later that I'd eaten breakfast with my father, that he'd seemed in good spirits, and that he'd wanted to go for a walk alone. That I'd offered to go too, but he'd insisted that he was okay and wanted time alone. They never found him, of course. But after the first few days, no one was even really looking. It took a couple of months before I started feeling light again. It came on slower this time. But as soon as I noticed the change, a part of my brain started preparing. I'd like to say it was hard for me to do it again, but it'd be another lie. After the first, it became much easier. The keys are illness and access, because, as I found out early on, my transfer of healing for gravity doesn't work if they aren't very ill. At first, I tried to use people in hospice, but you know how hard it is to find someone close to death and get enough opportunity to do what needs to be done without it being detected? It wasn't just about me not being seen or recorded, though that was a huge part of it. I also have to do it outside. Otherwise, I'd leave miraculously healthy people floating along a ceiling like a forgotten birthday balloon. That would lead to a different kind of scrutiny than someone almost dead disappearing. The kind that could get me found and locked up in some dark hole for the rest of my life, being tortured and experimented on. But over time, I've developed a method. First of all, homeless people. Most of them will never be missed, and most of them have a variety of health problems. Plus, they're usually outside most of the time. So, here's what I do. Every 2 or 3 months, it varies, but I can feel it coming a few days ahead of time now, I head out on a road trip, pick a large city I haven't visited to recently, and go to one of the worst parts of town. I always carry a gun, of course, as I'm not under any illusions that I'm the only dangerous thing out that night. I find someone by themselves and give them a bit of money. A folded 5 or 10 usually. Never coins because of fingerprints, and never too much money, so I'm not too memorable if they're not the one. Because I make sure to touch them when I hand them the money. I can see everything about them from that now. The ones that are sick enough, I tell them that I actually have more money nearby, if they're willing to walk with me a bit. Some are smart enough to say no, but most aren't. They think it's a ruse, or the start of some degradation for money, but they are too desperate to refuse the chance for more. So they follow me into an alley I've already checked out. No one else there, no cameras, nothing above us to get caught on. I'm so fast with it all now. It reminds me of a spider, dashing forward and the feeding, trading venom for life. I'm gripping their face and spreading the tape across their mouth all in one motion. The tape is rough enough to avoid prints on one side, and very hard to remove on the other. The heat roars through me, and I feel my feet settle firmly into the ground, even as they are pinwheeling through a variety of sensations. Fear and surprise, warm joy and feeling better than they have in years. Then new, confused terror as they feel themselves starting to float away. I used to look into their eyes. I felt like I owed it to them. I'm not a serial killer after all. No monster. I'm only doing what I have to do to survive. And I hate that it is necessary. It's easier to not look at their face, to not see them as people. They are just a meal. Reminders of an ugly truth. A forlorn balloon that is best let go. So, that's what I do. I silence and restore them, and then I release them into the starry night. Their shadowed silhouettes spiral up into the dark, shadow among shadows, drifting on, flying through the black sky. I do watch this for a few moments every time. In its own way, it is kind of miraculous and beautiful after all. And then, like them, I disappear.
Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jordan Group Horror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.